There are people who walk into a room and nothing about them looks special. No loud presence, no expensive display, no obvious dominance, but somehow decisions bend around them. Opportunities find them. People take them seriously before they've even said anything important. You've seen this before, and you probably told yourself something simple. They're just confident. But that's not it, because confidence alone doesn't create influence. Confidence doesn't make doors open. Confidence doesn't quietly shift outcomes in your favor. So what is it? What are they doing differently? And more importantly, why do wealthy families teach their children this early while you're never even told it exists? Part 1. The myth of hard work as the main advantage. Let's start with something uncomfortable. What you've been told that hard work is the advantage, that if you just work harder, stay disciplined, stay consistent, you'll eventually get ahead. And to a degree, that's true. But it's incomplete because you've probably noticed something. There are people who work less and still get better outcomes. They move differently. They don't chase. They don't compete aggressively. And yet, they seem to have leverage. Now ask yourself, if hard work was the full answer, why would that even be possible? Part 2. Why effort alone doesn't create power. Effort creates output, but output doesn't always create influence. You can work harder than everyone in the room and still have no control over the outcome, because effort is visible, and visible things are often undervalued. What actually matters is position, where you stand in relation to opportunity, where you stand in relation to people, where you stand in relation to time. That's where the real game is played, but nobody teaches you this directly. Part 3. The game you're playing without realizing right now. You're probably focused on doing more, earning more, learning more, improving faster, and that feels productive. But here's the problem. You're optimizing for activity, not advantage. You're asking, how can I do better? Instead of asking, how can I be positioned better? And that difference is everything. Part 4. Why you keep starting from zero. Let me challenge you. Every time you enter a new opportunity, a new job, a new business, a new environment, where do you start? From the bottom. You prove yourself. You build trust. You work your way up. Well, that's the normal path, but it's also the slowest path, because every time you start over, you reset your leverage back to zero. Wealthy families avoid this, not by working harder, but by entering differently. Part 5. What you don't see about advantage. Let's go deeper. Advantage is rarely loud. It's not announced. It's not obvious. In fact, the most powerful advantages are invisible. They look like being in the right place early, knowing the right people before others do, having access before demand increases. And here's the key. These advantages are built before they are needed, not after. Part 6. Why timing matters more than you think. Timing is misunderstood. Most people think timing means reacting quickly, but that's not timing, that's speed. Real timing is about positioning early. Sun it before something becomes obvious, before competition increases, before value is recognized. Wealthy families teach this early. They don't wait for opportunities to become clear. They position themselves before clarity arrives. Part 7. The quiet pattern you've missed. Look at people who seem to get lucky. They enter markets early, build relationships early, develop skills before they become valuable, and later, it looks like they had an advantage. But it wasn't luck. It was positioning, done quietly, over time, without attention. Part 8. Why most people can't do this because it feels slow. It feels uncertain. It doesn't give immediate results. You can't show it off. You can't measure it quickly, so you abandon it. You go back to what feels productive. Action, movement, speed. Away, but speed without positioning leads to exhaustion, not leverage. Part 9. The question you never ask. Let me ask you something directly. Why does your CPA never talk about positioning? because they're not paid to. They deal with structure after decisions are made, not the silent advantages before them, but wealthy families. They focus on what comes before the decision, because that's where control is created. Part 10, the shift. Quiet leverage, core reveal. Here's the rule, the one that changes everything, the one wealthy families teach early. Build quiet leverage before you need it. Not loud leverage, not visible leverage, quiet leverage, the kind that doesn't attract attention, but changes outcomes. Part 11. What quiet leverage actually is. Quiet leverage is built through early positioning, strategic relationships, access to information, time-based advantages. It's not about power you display, it's about power you hold, silently. And the key is this: you build it when nobody is watching. Part 12, early positioning, the first layer. Wealthy families don't wait for opportunities to prove themselves. They enter early, before the crowd, before validation, before hype, because early positions come with lower cost, higher upside, less competition, and most importantly, control. Part 13, hidden advantages, the second layer. Not all advantages are visible. Some are structural: access to information, access to people, access to environments. These don't look impressive, but they compound over time. And when opportunity appears, they are already in position. Part 14, long-term influence, the third layer. Influence is not built overnight. It's built slowly, through consistency, through presence, through positioning. Wealthy families don't try to dominate quickly. They embed themselves, quietly, and over time, they become difficult to replace. That's influence. Part 15. Why they start this early? Because time multiplies leverage. The earlier you start, the stronger it becomes. That's why they teach children to observe environments, to build relationships early, to position before acting, not later. Early. Part 16. Why you feel like you're behind? Because you're entering late. You're reacting, you're chasing, you're trying to compete in spaces where others have already built leverage. When and without leverage, everything feels harder. Part 17, the power of invisibility. Here's something most people don't understand. If your advantage is obvious, it can be competed against. If it's invisible, it can't. That's why wealthy families move quietly. They don't announce positions. They don't display strategy. They build without attention. Part 18, how to apply this immediately from today. Shift your thinking. Stop asking, what should I do next? Start asking, where should I be positioned early? Look for emerging opportunities, undervalued environments, relationships that compound over time, and enter early, quietly. Part 19, the final realization. You don't need more effort, you need better positioning. Because effort without leverage is just work. But effort with leverage becomes power. Unending, so the next time you see someone who seems to move effortlessly, don't assume they're lucky. Don't assume they're smarter. Ask yourself, what did they build before this moment? Because the wealthy already understand something you're just starting to see. The real game is not played when everyone is watching. It's played earlier, quietly, and by the time you notice it, the outcome is already decided.